They say the Harlow Woods have rules. Only locals know them, whispered over beers at the County's Edge Tavern. Never enter after sundown, never stray from the path. If you hear your name called, don't answer. And if you see the tall man with too many faces, run. Don't look back. Don't stop running until you reach pavement. Because in Harlow Woods, you're not the only hunter. This is the story of what happens when you break those rules. Marcus knew he shouldn't have taken the shortcut through Harlow Woods. Local kids joked about the place, but the adults never mentioned it, not directly. They'd say things like, best to stick to the main roads after dark, or no reason to go through there. Even if it saves time, Marcus had always written it off as small-town superstition. Until tonight. His car had broken down 3 miles back on the empty highway. No cell service, of course. The GPS showed Harlow Woods as a half-mile shortcut to the next town, versus the 5-mile walk following the road. With the temperature dropping and only his light jacket for warmth, Marcus had made what seemed like a logical decision. The first mile had been uneventful. The woods were quiet, too quiet, now that he thought about it. No crickets, no rustling leaves, no distant owls. Just the crunch of his footsteps on the narrow dirt path and his increasingly labored breathing as the trail began to incline. As he walked deeper into the woods, Marcus recalled the newspaper article he'd read at the diner in the last town. Local man missing for the 3rd day, search parties combing Harlow Woods. The waitress had gone quiet when he'd asked about it, her eyes darting to the other staff before she muttered something about, "That's just Harlow for you," and quickly changed the subject. At the time, Marcus had thought it was just small-town gossip, the kind of thing locals use to spook outsiders. Now, surrounded by the oppressive silence of the forest, those dismissive thoughts felt naive. The path narrowed further, branches reaching across the trail like grasping fingers. Twice, Marcus had to duck under fallen trees that blocked the way. The second time, he could have sworn the tree hadn't been there moments before. Looking back, there was no sign of where it could have fallen from. As the minutes stretched into an hour, Marcus began to worry. According to his phone's map, he should have reached the edge of the woods by now. Instead, the trees seemed to grow thicker, the path more winding. Was he going in circles? He stopped to check the GPS again, but the screen showed only a blank grid where the map should be. The service bars had disappeared completely. The moon disappeared behind clouds, plunging the forest into near-total darkness. Marcus activated the flashlight on his phone, cursing as the battery indicator showed 12%. He'd have to use it sparingly. That's when he heard it, a branch snapping, far too heavy to be a squirrel or raccoon. Marcus froze, directing his light toward the sound. Nothing. "Hello?" he called, immediately regretting it. His voice sounded small and vulnerable in the vast darkness. No response, but as he turned to continue down the path, he noticed something that made his blood run cold. Footprints in the soft mud, fresh ones, larger than his own. They hadn't been there seconds ago. Marcus quickened his pace, no longer concerned with conserving battery. Every few steps, he glanced back over his shoulder, the beam of light slicing through the darkness behind him. Nothing. But the feeling of being watched intensified with each passing minute. A distant sound stopped him again, a low, wet chuckle that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. "Who's there?" he demanded, trying to sound authoritative despite his trembling voice. "This isn't funny." The chuckle came again, closer this time, followed by a sound like wet meat being dragged across the forest floor. Marcus abandoned all pretense of courage and broke into a run, his light bouncing wildly across the path ahead. His foot caught on an exposed root, sending him sprawling face first into the dirt. The phone flew from his hand, landing several feet away, its beam pointing uselessly at the base of a gnarled oak tree. As Marcus scrambled to his knees, the light illuminated something carved into the tree's bark fresh, the sap still glistening. Today's hunter, Calvin Ruiz. Today's prey, Marcus Wells. Marcus stared in horror at his own name. How? Who could have known he'd be here tonight? He hadn't told anyone about his trip. Even he hadn't known he'd be passing through these woods until his car broke down. As he reached for his phone, the light flickered and died, the battery finally giving out. Complete darkness enveloped him, and in that darkness, Marcus heard footsteps approaching unhurried, confident. "Calvin?" Marcus whispered, backing away blindly. "Listen, man, I don't know what this is about, but..." The voice that answered wasn't human. It was deep and gurgling, as if speaking through a mouthful of liquid. "Calvin was yesterday's hunter," it said. "He failed." Marcus turned to run, but strong hands gripped his shoulders from behind. He hadn't heard anyone approach from that direction. "Impossible. Calvin is part of me now," the voice continued, hot breath against Marcus's ear smelling of copper and rot. "Just as you will be part of the next hunter." Marcus tried to scream, but a hand clamped over his mouth, a hand that felt wrong. The fingers too long, the skin too slick. "The rules are simple," the voice explained calmly. "You have until dawn to hunt me. If you kill me, you go free. If you fail..." The thing chuckled again. "Well, Calvin can tell you all about that." The grip suddenly released. Marcus stumbled forward, gasping for air, then turned around. In the faint moonlight that now filtered through the clouds, he saw it a towering figure with too many limbs, its body a patchwork of different skin tones. Where its face should have been was a mess of features, as if dozens of faces had been carelessly melded together. One pair of eyes, human, terrified, stood out from the rest. Beside them, a mouth opened in a silent scream. Calvin. But it wasn't just Calvin. As Marcus stared, he began to distinguish other faces embedded in the creature's flesh, men and women of different ages, their expressions frozen in various states of horror and pain. Some of the faces were so weathered and faded they barely resembled humans anymore, while others, like Calvin's, looked fresh, the skin still bearing a healthy color. "I've had many names over the centuries," the creature said, noticing Marcus's horrified fascination. "The settlers who first built their homes here called me the Walker Between Trees. Native tribes avoided these woods entirely. The few who entered called me the One Who Wears the Lost. I rather like that one. It stretched its misshapen body, joints cracking and popping in ways that defied human anatomy. Every 50 years or so, someone tries to destroy these woods. Logging companies, developers. They send workers in, none come out. Eventually, they stop trying." The creature extended its arm, offering a hunting knife. The blade was old but well maintained, its handle wrapped in what looked disturbingly like human skin. "Dawn is in 6 hours. I suggest you start running. I'll give you a 10-minute head start." Marcus took the knife with trembling hands. "Why are you doing this?" The creature's mismatched mouth formed what might have been a smile. "Because I was once prey too. This forest changes you. Now run." Marcus ran, clutching the knife, knowing with sickening certainty that he wouldn't see the morning. The path ahead forked in 3 directions, and he chose the rightmost trail without hesitation, hoping to circle back toward the highway eventually. The forest seemed to shift around him as he ran. Twice he passed the same distinctive fallen tree, despite maintaining a straight course. The third time he encountered it, he noticed something he'd missed before a small wooden box nestled in the exposed roots. Against his better judgment, Marcus stopped and opened it. Inside was a yellow journal, its pages brittle with age. By the dim moonlight, he could just make out the handwritten title page, "The Hunter's Journal, 1887. The first entry read, "May 4. My wagon wheel broke on the road to Millfield. Decided to take shortcut through Harlow Woods despite warnings. Met a strange man who offered me a knife and a game. Said if I killed him by dawn, I'd go free. I thought him mad until I saw his true form. I write this hiding behind a great oak. I hear him coming. God help me. The next entry was in different handwriting. The 17th of June, 1903. Found this journal by chance. My automobile has stalled on the highway. The creature found me as it found the previous owner of this book. I now understand the rules. I will add what I learned for the next unfortunate soul. Pages followed, each in different handwriting, spanning decades. Marcus flipped to the most recent entry, dated just 3 days ago. I'm Calvin Ruiz. If you're reading this, you're fucked, just like me. The thing can smell fear. It toys with you, makes you think you have a chance. But this is its forest. It can be anywhere. My only hope is to find the heart tree. Previous entries mention it a massive oak at the center of the woods with symbols carved into it. Legend says the creature is bound to it somehow. I'm going to find it before dawn. Calvin had never written again. Marcus ran, clutching the knife, knowing with sickening certainty that he wouldn't see the morning, and somewhere behind him, patient and unhurried, the hunter began to count. With the journal tucked into his jacket, Marcus searched desperately for the heart tree Calvin had mentioned. If the creature was bound to it somehow, perhaps there was a way to destroy it, or at least escape. The hours ticked by in a haze of panic and exhaustion. Twice he heard the creature moving through the forest, its wet, shuffling gait unmistakable. Each time, Marcus froze, pressing himself against a tree trunk or hiding in dense undergrowth until the sounds passed. Around what he guessed was 3 a.m., the woods fell completely silent again. Marcus paused to catch his breath beside a small stream, taking the opportunity to drink. As he cupped the cold water in his hands, he noticed something reflected in the surface faces in the water, dozens of them, staring up at him. He recoiled, splashing backward. The water rippled, and the faces disappeared. But when Marcus looked around, he realized he was in a clearing he hadn't noticed before. At its center stood the largest oak tree he had ever seen, its massive trunk at least 15 feet in diameter. Symbols were carved into every inch of its bark, ancient, intricate patterns that seemed to shift slightly when viewed from different angles. The heart tree. Marcus approached cautiously, knife ready. The air around the tree felt different, heavier, charged with something he couldn't name. As he got closer, he realized the symbols weren't carved into the bark. They were formed by small, tightly packed human teeth embedded in the wood. A sound behind him made Marcus whirl around. Nothing was there, but when he turned back to the tree, the creature stood on the other side of it, its misshapen form somehow even more terrifying in the clearing's relative openness. You found it, the thing said, sounding almost impressed. Most don't. They run in circles until dawn, exhausting themselves. What is this place? Marcus demanded, gripping the knife tighter. My beginning, my prison, my sustenance. The creature circled the tree slowly, trailing elongated fingers across the bark. Every hunter who finds it thinks the same thing, that destroying the tree will destroy me. It laughed, the sound like drowning gurgles. Calvin thought that too. Marcus spotted Calvin's face on the creature's shoulder now, the expression different, resigned, empty. The tree doesn't bind me, the creature continued. It feeds me. Every 50 years, it requires sacrifice, willing or unwilling. It gestured toward the symbols. Each marking represents a soul consumed. Some fought, some surrendered. All became part of the forest eventually. Marcus lunged suddenly, driving the knife toward the creature's chest. The blade sank in with surprising ease, disappearing to the hilt. The creature didn't flinch or cry out. Instead, it looked down at the wound with mild curiosity as black ichor oozed around the blade. A valiant effort, it said, reaching up to pat Marcus's cheek with a grotesquely elongated hand. But as you can see, conventional weapons are ineffective. With horrifying speed, its other hand shot out, grabbing Marcus's wrist in an iron grip. The creature pulled him closer, until their faces were inches apart. Up close, Marcus could see the individual pores on Calvin's skin, the cracked lips of an elderly woman to the left, the single milky eye of what looked like a young boy to the right. "Time's up, Marcus," it whispered. "Dawn approaches. You failed to kill me." Marcus struggled uselessly as the creature's body began to change, its flesh becoming more fluid, opening like a grotesque flower. Inside was darkness, not the absence of light, but something deeper, hungrier. Marcus screamed as he felt himself being pulled into that darkness, his skin burning where it made contact with the creature's flesh. In his final moments of consciousness, as his body was absorbed into the mass of the hunter, Marcus saw the heart tree pulsing with newfound energy. One of the symbols on its bark, previously hollow, filled with what looked like fresh blood. 3 days later, a tow truck driver found Marcus's abandoned car on the highway. A search party combed the woods but found nothing except a knife with a handle wrapped in what looked like human skin, abandoned beside a stream. Local authorities added his name to the growing list of disappearances in the area over the past 50 years, all travelers passing through, all lost in Harlow Woods. A week later, another car broke down on the same stretch of road. Its driver, Jessica Chen, faced the same choice: the long walk around or the shortcut through the woods. As she entered the tree line, she didn't notice the fresh carving on the first oak tree. Today's hunter, Marcus Wells. Today's prey, Jessica Chen. She wouldn't see Marcus until it was too late, his face now just one of many in the patchwork horror that stalked between the trees, waiting for night to fall and the hunt to begin anew.